And now, here on AMTV, it's time for the Who News. Hello everybody and welcome back to another installment of Who News. You're getting this report from me, Adam Martyn from AMTV, and this time we're delving into Time Lord Victorious. And when I say that, I don't mean the actual full saga of events, one specific event, one surprise event if you like, that was announced yesterday on Twitter at midday, and it was quite exciting. We were teased just with the Daleks are invading and a surprise announcement, and this could have, well, it really could have been a variety of things, couldn't it? But it was going to tie into the Time Lord Victorious story. We now know that in November there is going to be a Daleks animated series. That's right, for the first time in the creature's 57-year history, they are finally getting their own animated series. And no, this is not the long-proposed animated series of the gay Daleks.
You vicious old queen!
But this is quite an exciting announcement. The idea of an animated Dalek concept is quite cool. And as I said, it'll be in November and we're going to get 5 episodes. And looking on the Radio Times article, they confirm that those episodes are going to be 10 minutes in length. So if you watch it all together, that'll be a 50-minute story. And they star some quite big names. I mean, Nicholas Briggs is voicing all the Daleks. You've got Joe Sugg, fellow creator here on this website, but he was also in Strictly Come Dancing. But Joe Sugg is in this. He's playing a robotic character, I believe. You've got Anjali Mohindra, who of course played Rani in the Sarah Jane Adventures and also the Queen Skithra in the recent Series 12. And you have Aisha Antoine, sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, who actually did appear in Doctor Who as well in the episode Midnight in 2008. She played the character of Dee Dee. So some familiar Who talent coming back and some new talent. Now, the whole thing with Joe Sugg, I'm not going to bash him straight away. I mean, I don't know his acting chops. He was in a West End musical, Waitress, where some of my friends saw him and said he wasn't very good. But you know, we don't know until we actually hear it in action, so we're not gonna bash it, although that, you know, be quite unfair to do. So whether you like his content on YouTube or not, you can't bash him for getting involved in other projects, to be honest. But the main sticking point, even though like the artwork here looks really cool, like it's using the Dalek font from the 60s comics, and the Emperor Dalek here is obviously a huge throwback to the Emperor from the 60s Dalek comics, you know, it's all very cool. But the main sticking point I noticed people say was the actual animation itself. A lot of people were saying it looks comparable to like a PlayStation 2 cutscene, something from the early 2000s, something basically not up to par with what people expected. And, you know, I think I got that knee-jerk reaction myself as well, but I think we've got to consider a few things as well. One being that we don't know, as far as I'm aware, how long the studio working on this had been working on this, whether this began like a year ago or whether this started during the lockdown due to the pandemic. I mean, a lot of things have happened, obviously, in the world, so maybe they had less time, less resources, they needed to get it out for their November release date. And I mean, it doesn't look bad. It's not what I'd consider bad animation. It's just not, at least from what we see in the trailer, it's just not as detailed. But again, we could consider the fact maybe that it isn't quite finished yet, that they had to maybe get a trailer out to entice people, but maybe finer parts of the rendering, say shadows or things like that, just maybe weren't complete yet. So I know it's easy to dog on them for, oh, it looks like really dated, it looks like a PlayStation 2 game and stuff, but, you know, maybe bear those things in mind. Just, I mean, you know, it could come out in November and it could still look like that, and we can all complain to high heaven, but honestly, we just do not know at this point. The animator's working on it as Studio Lidl, which is an animation studio based in Salford, near Manchester, and it's not a studio I'm familiar with, so it could be like they're a new company. I know a lot of people were hoping that Lee Adams was going to be involved with this, so for anyone who doesn't know, Lee made a great series originally in 2011 and 2012 here on YouTube called Dalek Tales, specifically a story called The Dalek That Time Forgot, and that was a great animated version of Daleks, explaining basically how Dalek Khan became the way he was, you know, in the 10th Doctor's later adventures, why he was insane. It just sort of filled in the gaps, but in a really constructive and fun way. And these were all, you know, animated 9 years ago. Like, that was a long time, but those animations look gorgeous. Even now, they're really fluid, they're really detailed, there's a lot of fine detail working in there. And it was some really great work. And actually, recently, a lot of people aren't aware of this, and me, myself included, until recently. Lee actually did another Dalek Tales more recently, about a year or two ago. This was a cross between the Daleks and the Cybermen, and again, it plugged in some more canon gaps, if you like, specifically without spoiling too much, how Davros ends up the way he does in Series 9 in Capaldi's time. But again, really cool, really great animation for like what's available, and it's some fantastic work. And it is a shame that they didn't ask. I did notice Lee on Twitter did say, sort of mention he basically wasn't asked to be involved with this, and considering he's such a talent when it comes to animating Daleks in particular, it is a great shame they didn't ask for him to be included. But at the end of the day, PS2 graphics aside and all that, am I excited for Daleks, the animated series? Yes, of course I am. I think a lot of us have always been curious at the idea of the Daleks having their own TV show, whether that was when Terry Nation tried for it back in the 60s or otherwise. It's just great that they're finally getting their chance in the spotlight, even if it's 5-10-minute episodes, but I think that's fine for YouTube as an animation. As I say, with Lee's work, The Dalek That Time Forgot, a lot of those were under 10 minutes, and that's not a problem, but I think 5-10-minute installments, especially when you're tying into an overarching story with Time Lord Victorious that's going across multiple mediums, I think it's the right way to go. And just before we move on to the final bit of news, I just want to give a shout out to Philip Hawkins, who's a friend here of AMTV. He was our very first podcast guest on AMTV Radio, and he's actually doing an ongoing series looking at this whole Time Lord Victorious saga and summarizing news and basically just what's going on, which is actually really helpful for people like me who don't necessarily have access to all the different bits and pieces and want to follow along. So if you're curious about Time Lord Victorious and maybe you don't have the budget to stretch across every release or anything like that, go and check out Philip's channel and you can keep up to date there. And the last bit of news I wanted to shout out was the One Fantastic Scene event that happened on the 9th of September. This was to celebrate the work of the Ninth Doctor himself, Christopher Eccleston. So myself and a bunch of other YouTubers came together and we picked our favourite scene or moment from the Ninth Doctor's era and we reviewed it basically. Now this was put together by Paul, who's also known as Shabogan Who here on YouTube. Highly recommend you guys go and give him a subscribe. It's a great event he managed to put together and pull off with all of us, and if you look at the playlist, I should have pictures on the screen now. There was some really great creators involved, both small and larger in scale. Some names I'm sure you'll recognize, some you may not, but I highly recommend just go through the playlist, have a look at all of these videos because all the reviews are brilliant. I've gone through them all myself, and it was a real pleasure to be involved with so many wonderful creatives in a fantastic project. But that is all really for this installment of the Doctor Who news. Keep your eyes open, we'll be having more Who videos coming soon, including an unboxing of Fury from the Deep when that releases next week, and also continuing the Doctor Who rating series at some point. But that's all for this time on Who News, so until the next one, I'll catch you in the next report. This program has been brought to you in part by our producer and director patrons. With your support, you help keep AMTV running and the programs coming to your screens. Thank you. And that does bring us to the end of another evening here on AMTV. We hope you enjoyed the program, and we hope to see you next time. Good night.